Cool. Well, I've got a load of questions. Well, not a load. I've got some questions for you.
All right.
Going on. I can get going. Also, today I'm interviewing Dan from Pale Wizard Records. How's it going, man? How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm here. I'm alive.
Did you have a good and relaxing Christmas and New Year's and all that?
It was very relaxing because all my family, we all had COVID, so we were all isolating. But luckily, we were all fine, very mild, and just meant we couldn't see the extended family. So we just stayed indoors playing with the kids and all their toys. And but back on it now, which is good.
Oh, of course. Did you get anything nice for Christmas?
Pants, socks. What else did I get? My partner did a really nice pencil drawing of our kids for me. That was really nice. It's probably the highlight.
That's cool. No, I got an Alexa. I'm just trying not to abuse it too much when she can't understand what I'm trying to request her. So that's been fun. Well, we're here to talk about Pale Wizards. Killer 50 years later. It's come out in the last couple of months. But let's go back to the beginning. Like, why start a label in the first place? And did you have any experience in that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, I sing for the band Sergeant Thunderhoof, so I've pretty much been managing that side of things for the band since we started. So I've been doing all the PR and vinyl pressing and CDs. So I've been sorting all that out and T-shirts and stuff, and distributing it and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought, well, I might as well kind of use those skills and, with the space, because I run a studio, with the space that we have here, it gives us the opportunity to kind of get these things done. And it was also an excuse to involve one of my closest friends, Tim, just so we could do something together, because me and him have worked together for the best part of 25 years now. So it was just something that I wanted to have something I could share with someone else, so we had like a joint project. So Pale Wizard was pretty much just born out of that, really.
I get you. And has anything been kind of unexpected from doing a label that you could look back on now, sort of 8 or so years into doing it?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the label itself's only been going properly for about 18 months. And obviously before that, I was just doing the releases for Sergeant Thunderhoof. I mean, obviously, because we specialize in vinyl and everyone knows what's going on with vinyl at the moment with all the delays and stuff like that, and the exponential rise in costs. So obviously, there's been occasions where we've promised something and we deliver it, but we've had to kind of bite the bullet with extra expenses and stuff. So yeah, we've learned the hard way on certain things, but we'd rather people get something which is a quality product rather than something that's just cutting corners and stuff like that. So the whole ethos of the label, we're not trying to make money or anything like that, but just trying to kind of build a catalog of stuff that we really like. And it means we can involve friends of ours and bands that we like as well, that we play with, and just try and have a collective kind of project that we can all do.
Yeah, of course. I understand that. Well, how is Sergeant Thunderhoof going at the moment? I understand you've got a new album finished and sort of ready to go.
Yeah, we've literally just finished it. So we had we spent the best part of last year kind of demoing and writing and recording, and we've just had the masters back. It's been mastered by Tony Reed in the States. And yeah, we're really happy with it. It's a big beast of an album, and it's been it will be 4 years since our last one, so we've got quite a diverse following around the world who are kind of being chomping at the bit for us to release something new. So it's nice to finally do it. It did feel like a bit of a mountains climb because everything was against us last year. Obviously, COVID and all that kind of stuff. We had illness as well within the band and our families, and it did feel like sometimes like, God, this is never going to happen, Mm-hmm. Of course, we were all isolating as well because our drummer's wife, she had a kidney transplant last year, I think, or the year before. Mm-hmm. So we had to be really careful with mixing and all that. So it was a totally different way of writing an album because we all had to kind of come in when we could rather than all together. We've, you know, the amount of times we've been in the same room as each other in the past year, I could probably count on 2 hands, you know.
Gosh.
So it's really interesting. But yeah, we're really happy with it, and it comes out in June next year. So fingers crossed, all the vinyl will be ready and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, I can hear how the sort of process behind the album has been very different. But what's the musical evolution like with this new record? How is it going to be different on the ears?
It's still us. It's still got a little bit of a sense of humor. It's still got a bit of theatricality. It's a bit more progressive. There's a lot of long songs. I mean, we're known for doing long songs anyway, because we just struggle to do short songs. It's just the way it comes out. It's not intentional. But yeah, there's a theme going through it. It's not a concept album, but I don't know. It feels a much more denser, darker album than the stuff we've done before, and it's probably just reflective of the mood we've been in, I guess.
Yeah, of course. With everything going on in the world and around yourselves personally, I can see how that would come out in the music. Definitely. But it's not sort of only released in the last 4 years, so to say. There was the delicate sound of Thunderhoof. Like, what did you learn from being an acoustic release?
That was a complete fluke. That was because there's this crazy, amazing fan that we have who lives in Dubai, and she's really supported the band over the years. And as a present, we recorded an acoustic version of one of her favorite songs called "Staff of Souls." Just because we had an hour spare in the studio one day, so we just did that for her. But it actually sounded really good. We were like, "Oh wow, that song sounds good." And then obviously because of COVID, it meant that we couldn't do anything. We had a tour that was cancelled with Howling Giant we were supposed to do, because we were promoting a split album that we just released with them. And so we were all scrabbling around for things to do, basically. And so, yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was just a kind of like, it was almost like the followers and the fans of the band kind of made it happen, because they were saying, "Oh, why don't you do this?" So we just did. And it just seemed, it worked really well. It was surprising how our songs sounded quite nice in that kind of environment. Just luck, I guess.
Well, I mean, I guess it allows you to do acoustic shows in the future if you choose. But yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Fair enough. Well, we've had the first couple from Ziggy Stardust, 50 Years Later. They sound great. And I think compared to launching Killers 50 Years Later, when we hadn't had something to listen to by then, how was kind of kickstarting that project been different to kickstarting Killers about a year ago, I think?
Yeah, different, because I mean, the whole ethos of 50 Years Later was it's an excuse for us to kind of pick an album which is turning 50 years old. And the quite cool thing is obviously that we aim to release these albums 50 years to the day. And we try and get a diverse bunch of bands to do it, kind of possibly not the bands you expect to do that kind of thing. So with the Alice Cooper Killer 50 Years Later, I guess it was a bit easier because the bands covering them, they're not a million miles away from Alice Cooper, if you know what I mean. There's a family tree there, you know what I mean? So it was probably easier for us to kind of advertise that one and kind of get the point across to people about the reason for the release. And and obviously a lot of those bands had a personal collection with Alice Cooper at some point, either the band or his solo stuff. But what the easy thing to do would have been for the next year would be to pick, I don't know, a Led Zeppelin album or Sabbath or ZZ Top or something that's kind of, again, in that family tree. And me and myself and Tim, who runs a label with me, we don't like the easy thing. We instantly get turned off by the idea of doing something that's obvious, because there's already plenty of labels out there who are doing that kind of thing. really well. But there's no point us kind of doing something else which is almost exactly the same as another label. So we tossed around a bunch of ideas. We were thinking of there's a Genesis album we were toying with, which was Selling England by the Pound, which would have been a nightmare to do, but I would have loved to have heard it. There was a Uriah Heep album. There was oh God, what was the other one we wanted to do? But in the end, the one that we settled on together that we both have a kind of real emotional connection with was Ziggy Stardust by Bowie. And it's been hard. It was hard this time for us to recruit the bands because, there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with a lot of kind of the hard rock community with Bowie. I think he's quite misunderstood. And Ziggy Stardust is quite a pointed album because it's right in that glam era. It's kind of like a crossover between hard rock, glam, pop. So it was more of a challenge for us to kind of think, well, who the hell could we get to do these songs? And it's such a varied album as well. But as soon as we got, I just contacted Raging Speedhorn because I just knew instinctively, I'd love to hear them do like Suffragette City. Yeah. And then so I emailed them and said, would you like to do a song on Ziggy? And the drummer Gordon emailed back and said, yeah, can we do Suffragette City? So I was like, yes.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
I know they did that. They did a T-Rex cover on the last album. That's
exactly what made me think of it. You see, so I heard it. What was it? Was it Children of the Revolution? They did.
It was yeah.
And I heard that. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So I just instinctively knew that they would be great, and they have done a really good version of Suffragette City. And obviously then it's just it's kind of grown from that, and obviously what I think once bands know that Raging Speedhorn on it, well yeah, we will be a part of it, so it always helps to have a bit of a name on the record. I think
it's great for the 50 years later project that a sort of more sort of household metal name, at least in the UK, is getting behind it, and also you're quite a heavy, hard-hitting band, I guess, compared to some of the ones on Killer who sort of mostly clean vocal edge. You got Raging Speed on this time, and the Son of Boar I saw were getting involved as well. So that'll be really interesting how they do maybe a sort of glammier artist than Alice Cooper's Killers. But yeah, really excited to hear that. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean the Son of Boar track's interesting because I like the fact that they kept it Son of Boar. They haven't tried to at all emulate Bowie. So I think that one's gonna surprise quite a few people when they hear it.
That was what I liked about the Sound of Origin cover as well, because I think it was probably the most directly the most directly them cover. The others sort of had, you could hear the original track, but for me, Sound of Origin was brutal. But it sounds like
it's brilliant, and their vocalist is just insane. What a voice he's got! It's incredible.
He actually gave me some vocal lessons about a year ago for my own band.
Oh wow, cool!
Yeah, he's just incredible. It's helped me so much in ways that just seem to make so much sense now. He's kind of told me what to do, but he's got this theatrical background. Joel does, and it's
oh really? Right, that's interesting.
So I really liked their cover. It was great. I understand that Kong Social will be on Ziggy Stardust as well. That's a new thing for yourself.
Yeah, so that's like it's like a side project that myself and Josh Gallup, the engineer who works with me at the studio, and he's also in the band Foxjaw. It's something that we've been doing kind of on the side as a bit of a laugh for a couple of years, and we weren't supposed to be on this. I didn't want to be on the Ziggy Stardust LP because I didn't want it to become like, an ego trip for me. That the band I'm in have to be on every release. However, the band that was supposed to do that had to pull out well, incidentally, that band was Sound of Origin. They had to pull out for one reason or another. Not their fault at all. It's just circumstances.
Yeah.
And literally, we had to send off the whole thing to be mastered and sent to print within about 3 days. And it was like, we could, there's no way we're going to find another band now. So I just said, Josh, get in the room. Let's do it. And it turned out really well. I mean, I would have loved to have heard what Sound of Origin did with it. I mean, we're definitely going to get Sound of Origin involved on hopefully on the next one, if they like the idea of it.
Or hopefully Aluna can do some more, because I really enjoyed doing the I'm 18 cover. I've seen the messages in the band chat, but for me, it was my first recording with Aluna, because I am still the new guy.
Right, cool.
Yeah, and it was good to do it for a tribute album. I do think it's important to cover songs. Sometimes you can get wrapped up in doing things your own way, but there's definitely some importance to paying tribute to sort of the artists who've influenced you.
Yeah, I think so. It's sometimes it's good just to kind of not take yourself so seriously as well, and just enjoy it. And good songs, aren't they? And they're good songs are enjoyable to play.
Really?
I mean, obviously you did 18, and that's such an amazing song, and you did a great version of it. And for me, because I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. I've been since I was like 10 years old, and I've seen him so many times. I got to meet him back in the day as well. But the idea that I've from a little idea that I had, and we've created this kind of little tribute, and we've put it out into the world. That's what I like about being in bands and running the label. It's like everything you do, even if there's only a couple of hundred people who listen to it, it doesn't matter. You've made a tiny difference, and you've put something else out into the ether, and I like that. And a lot of the Alice Cooper community got on board with that one as well, which was really nice. So we've had so many nice messages from people just complimenting the release. And also, I think because there's lots of kind of knowing nods in the artwork and the way we've presented it. And, we've tried to kind of hearken to the original, and, little winks at the kind of old school fans, that kind of thing. And a lot of people have recognized that and sent us some really nice messages. So it's been a really fulfilling experience.
I can imagine it was. And you got a couple of lines in Classic Rock magazine as well, so that's something.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, not bad at all. Well, I can imagine how Alice must have inspired you as a vocalist. But how long have you been a singer, and sort of who has inspired you on your vocal journey?
I started singing when I was about 16. Kind of by accident. I didn't really plan it, and I couldn't sing for shit when I started. We were kind of doing like covers of, God, what were we doing back then? Terror Vision and Metallica, and God, I can't remember. It was back in about 1998, I think I started. But then obviously as the years get on and just repetition, you pick up techniques and stuff. And I guess I've always kind of aspired to be like the people I really rate vocally, like your Mike Pattons and Ronnie James Dio, Alice, obviously. Alice isn't technically a great vocalist. For him, it's about his it's the snarl, it's the way he delivers vocals, it's the lyrics, it's the kind of
his charisma, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's the way he phrases things, and it shows you don't have to be technically brilliant to be able to put across a message. Whereas you got your Ronnie James Dio, who's just on another level, and obviously I'll never ever be anywhere close to that, but I guess that's the stuff I listen to a lot, for vocally anyway. Chris Cornell and the likes of that, so I guess for me, I always wanted to be like a drummer or a guitarist, but I was never good enough. So it just felt like, oh well, I'll do singing then, you know. But you know, luckily for me, I've grown to really enjoy doing it.
I guess not everyone can be a Dio or a Halford, but I think you can still learn to be a character at the front of the stage, regardless. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, I mean that's what Alice Cooper taught me. And again, you know, there's links. You know, Bowie's similar. It's you know, they really entertain people, and they put on a show. You know, and they kind of they paint the story of words and visuals, and you know, it's not you're not just going to a show to watch a drum solo. You're going to, you know, have the whole experience. And yeah, I guess I've always kind of tried to aspire to that as well. I mean, no one was doing that kind of thing before Alice Cooper came along. It just, you know, no one did it quite the way they did it anyway. And you know, I think if Bowie had been honest, he probably took quite a chunk of that himself when he did the whole Ziggy Stardust tour. You know, because before Ziggy and the album that came before that, he was more of a kind of English folk singer. You know.
Yes.
He didn't have that. He didn't have that charisma and the stage presence, and obviously he went and did completely his own thing, musically anyway. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like the shock rock thing was sort of a novelty, but also paved the way for all the theatrical sort of rock artists or heavy metal stuff afterwards. I think it all comes back to Alice, really, in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the theatrics, definitely. I mean, obviously, if you want to trace metal back or hard rock, then you know you go back to your Sabbaths and your Led Zeppelins and your Budgie and that kind of things. But but musically, I think Alice Cooper, you know, you can see shades of their music in punk, prog rock, you know, metal. It was really inspiring stuff.
Without a doubt. I know there's still plenty of great modern classics being released these days. Let's say, hypothetically, a small label in 2071 was putting a 50 years later album together, and they chose something from 2021. I could say this year, but we're only 6 days into it. What have been your favourite albums that have been released last year that perhaps might be paid tribute to in 50 years?
Oh God, this is the thing. I'm not great at keeping up with music. I mean, the bands that I suppose in the same similar scene to what we're doing, bands like Elder, I think they pretty much everything they do sounds great. And I think that their music probably will transcend the decades. I think there's nothing in the mainstream for me which captivates me. I've got to be honest. I mean, there's bands coming through like Green Lung who are kind of they seem to be kind of making a dent into the kind of popular culture.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're great. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to ask you, what do you think about that?
I think it's hard to say because bands, sort of the best albums for me, they don't have that kind of pop aspect to them. So I don't know, take a releases like, I don't know, Boss Keloid or June. They're fantastic. They're the ones that I've absolutely loved. But it would be very interesting to see sort of bands try and emulate that because they're doing such mind-bending stuff. I don't think it's the same market that, you know, sort of bands are going to be covered as much these days because of the landscape of heavy rock and metal at the moment. That's no bad thing at all. It's no bad thing.
Well, it's interesting because obviously, you know, back in the early 70s, a lot of the hard rock and kind of the stuff that we really revere now, that was popular culture. Whereas popular culture now has nothing to do with the music that me and you do.
No.
We're definitely the counterculture. You know, there was a time when hip hop was counterculture. That's not counterculture anymore. That's literally mainstream.
Yeah.
popular culture and the mainstream music, I have to say, is just diabolically bad. There's very few artists coming out in the mainstream which I rate, you know, more than 5 out of 10, if I'm honest. Obviously there's really, you know, interesting and clever people involved, and a lot of it's down to my own tastes, obviously. But the trouble about mainstream music now is it's so overproduced that they suck all the humanity out of the music. So think about the stoner rock scene, desert, psychedelic, hard rock, you know, the majority of those bands, good bands, keep the humanity in the music. So not everything's perfect. There are mistakes. There's, you know, drummer slows down sometimes, or the vocalist might hit a slightly off note, but that's what makes it great. There was no auto-tune back in 1972. But you listen to anything that's on the radio now, and it's just soaked in it, absolutely soaked. And you just think, that's what the next generation are growing up thinking, that is what a human voice sounds like. And so the weird thing about running the studio is we sometimes get young kids in the studio singing along to their favorite songs, that kind of thing. The weird thing about youngsters, I'm talking 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, is they sing with that auto-tune sound. That's how they sing. It's really bizarre.
That's interesting.
So they're kind of, you know, the whole kind of the auto-tune where it kind of jumps like that.
Yeah.
The pitch. They sing in that style because it's not their fault. It's because that's what their brain has been trained to think is what singing is. And it's just dreadful. It's killing music.
I do think the perfectionism of modern production, sort of in the mainstream, it's not good for. Well, it's not good for artists, because I think it almost creates an unrealistic expectation of what sort of singing should sound like if you're practicing, or.
But also, it actually doesn't sound good. It sounds bad. You can't have an emotional connection to something which is all digital and processed. You know, I think there's something about a real drum kit, a real guitarist, a real singer playing live in a room. There's something about that which connects emotion. I don't want to get all hippy dippy on you, but I do think there is an emotional connection that's lost. And ever since the kind of album has, you know, the art of the albums kind of died out, where people will listen to side A, flip it over, put side B on, listen to the whole thing. Now everyone's got their phones and Spotify, and it's all on shuffle. So many of these new bands don't want to do albums now, because what's the point? It's better to do 5 or 6 singles and videos to go with each one, you know, because it's all about Spotify.
It does feel like we're just kind of in the age of the EP at the moment, and so supposedly the average pop song is 2 minutes long at the moment. Like what's going on there?
So to answer your question, when you said what in 2072, what are we going to be doing as a 50-year tribute? Well, A, I'll be dead, so that doesn't matter. But B, I think I have no idea, because you generally pick something from popular culture, wouldn't you, to pay tribute to? I can't think of anything from popular culture over the past 12 months that I would want to listen to, let alone pay tribute to. I mean, it's interesting because the biggest album that came out in the last couple of months was ABBA's new album.
Yeah,
right. And I love ABBA. Right, I'm unapologetic. I love ABBA. I think they're just geniuses. However, it is another overproduced example of modern pop. Even though some of the songs were recorded back then, they've still got their grubby fingers all over it and messed with it digitally, and you know. But that's just, it's amazing to me that ABBA is the big, you know, and obviously Adele's the biggest thing since sliced bread right now, isn't she?
Yeah.
So it kind of feels weird for me and you to be talking about popular culture, because we don't exist in popular culture, if we're honest.
I think that the last time that, you know, guitar music seemed to be big in popular culture was 10, 15 years ago now, when it was pop punk or indie, and that's not even,
at least,
that's not really sort of up there anymore, you know. So
yeah, you know, your likes of Kaiser Chiefs, Arctic Monkeys, Fratellis, Kings of Leon, and the Killers, where they always used to dominate the charts, didn't they? In Foo Fighters, and it just doesn't happen anymore. Sadly, it's just gone. But it's fine. I like the fact that the music, that we probably share a lot of similar interests in music. I like the fact that it's not popular and it's in the mainstream anyway, and it's it's a very niche scene. But that's cool. It's nice to be in that kind of small crowd rather than being part of a bigger thing.
I think it's quality of music and diversity of music is kind of the flip side of it not being very popular anymore. You get some incredible cutting edge stuff that sure not as many people are going to hear it because it's not meant for that kind of audience. It's no bad thing in my opinion.
Well, you mentioned Boss Kelloid, that what they're doing is really different. They're pushing boundaries. I don't understand why albums like that never get thought of for like Mercury Prize nominations. The Mercury Prize nominations, they try and make out that there's some unknown artists. Well, they're not unknown because they're all signed to major labels. It's horseshit. When they try and give you this kind of this kind of spiel that the Mercury Prize is hunting for. Well, where the fuck are you? Because there's these great albums that are coming out. Why is Boss Kelloid not being nominated for Mercury Prize? I'm serious about that.
I completely get behind that. It's a shame how alternative these days seems to be. I don't know, like bands like Imagine Dragons who have the illusion of loudness, sort of whispering into your mic, but it's turned up and there's sort of medium to loud drums in the background, so it sounds loud. It sounds more rocky than what's typically.
I
can't stand them.
I totally agree. I totally agree. It's just dog shit. It's overproduced dog shit.
Oh, they'll be like, oh, this music's too loud, or they're swearing it. It offends me. Well, Imagine Dragons offends me. So.
Oh, absolutely. 99% of music offends me now. I mean, Little Mix offends me.
Yeah.
The stuff that's coming out of their mouth is so much worse than what Marilyn Manson was saying 25 years ago.
Yeah, 100%.
Honestly, you remember the shit that Marilyn Manson got in years ago, with the Columbine and all that kind of stuff, because he said a few things in his song. Then you got Little Mix who are literally describing how to fillet a man, and these songs are targeted at 12, 13-year-old girls. I mean, why is no one talking about this? It's horrendous.
I despair.
I mean, I'm not a prude, but I do think there has to be kind of levels, and if you've got popular music being played on Radio 1, say at prime time, I don't want to hear what they're getting up to in their bedroom. I don't know. Maybe I am a prude. Maybe I'm getting old.
I don't know. Like, I'm of the generation when I started listening to, slowly getting into rock music. It was Kaiser Chiefs and Fratellis on the radio, and Green Day was the offensive band that my mum and dad wouldn't let me have until I just bought it for myself when I had a bit of money in my pocket. All seems very different now.
But I mean, what did Green Day ever say that was bad? I mean, I remember they talked about masturbating in one song. Was there anything else?
They had a few fucks and shits here and there, and that was about as bad as it got, really. So.
Yeah, I mean, Christ, I mean, again, you listen to this modern music. I mean, the Green Day is nothing compared to what's coming out now. No. This drill rap stuff. Again, it's not my scene. Fair play. If people enjoy that, that's great. I'm not a fascist. You enjoy what you enjoy. But if people think that the popular culture is a better example to the young people coming up listening to it, I think they're deluded. I think the rock bands are a much better example, because I mean the thing about rock music, which is really sad that it's fallen out of the mainstream, is for young kids coming out, being in a band is such a positive thing in most regards, because it teaches you about socializing, teamwork, working towards a common goal, that kind of thing. And now everything's so self-centered, and you know, it's the Ed Sheeran effect. Everything's about you and yourself and individual, rather than this kind of idea of, you know, working with 3, 4, 5 other people to achieve something really cool. I think that it's really sad that that's kind of died in the popular consensus.
I'd never really thought about it like that, actually, because you do have all the, you know, more solo artists or, you know, SoundCloud rappers and that kind of thing. I'd never kind of thought of it that way, but I guess it is all part of the digitalization of music, so to speak, and that kind of thing. It all ties in. It's not a good thing, but yeah, you know, being in a band, it's, you know, you learn about teamwork and networking and all of that, but it seems to be lost if you're just doing everything by yourself.
Yeah, well, it's like, because it's like I've noticed a real drop off of young bands coming into the studio. So obviously I'm in Bath in Somerset. We used to have tons of bands around here, lots of young bands coming through and older bands, and you think I just people not into it anymore. And then I speak to like local guitar teachers and stuff, and they've never been busier. They've got so many students learning guitar. So I was saying to this one chap, Richard, who runs a guitar school, I was like, well, if you've got so many students, why am I not seeing all these new bands popping up? He's saying, well, they don't want to be in bands. They just want to play on YouTube. So they want to do guitar covers on YouTube. And it's the same with drummers. And they would rather put a video up on YouTube rather than be in a band and play a gig. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I do see that a lot on my social media feeds. It's you get a lot of solo musicians, you know, putting up covers or you know, genuinely quite funny content that, you know, makes me chuckle. It's like, I'm a guitarist, I relate to that, or that's a drummer doing something funny. Yeah, that's great, that is. But it's well, it's not. They're not contributing to a music scene, which for me is important. It does seem like circles of decline everywhere. Yeah,
it's just weird. It's like being in a band for me was like the best thing ever, because the idea of playing a gig, it was just, I remember the first gig I played in, you know, this little town called Midsummer Norton in this little pub. Mm-hmm. That was, I could have died happy. It was just the most amazing feeling. You know, it didn't matter. There was, you know, might not have been loads of people there. It didn't matter.
No.
But I don't know. And it's like you want to just grab a kid and say, look, if you want to get a girlfriend, join a band. You know what I mean? It's true though.
No.
You know, it. I don't know. If I hadn't joined a band, God knows where my life would have ended up. I probably would have been a lot more unhappy, more unhappy than I am already. But I don't know. There seems to be a whole kind of generation who, maybe what it is because of people's access to smartphones and YouTube and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think it's the fear of failure now. I think it's the fear that, because when I started out in the band, we were awful, and I was just horrendous. I couldn't sing for shit. And so thank God no one had a smartphone and was filming my first gig, because that would have been a lead weight around my neck for the rest of my life. So maybe it's that, maybe it's the fear of failure that's stopping them from wanting to put themselves at risk of ridicule.
I think of my first band, and I'm still in slump with two of them actually. But this was about, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago when we had those first gigs, and I look back on like the very first, and yeah, even compared to the later ones, like they're just dreadful. You know, it's quite funny. Like every so often when they're around, they're like, oh, you know, should we pull up an old Kashmir video? It's like, oh no, come on, go on, let's watch it. All right, and then
oh, I mean, it's great though, isn't it? It's great to look back and you know, I find it really amusing to look back at the old stuff. But I mean, because obviously I have to deal with a lot of young bands who come in here, and I help them out, and you know, they ask for advice and stuff. I know we're going off topic here, but one of the things I try to instill in bands is like, look, the object of being in a band and playing gigs and starting out is not to get better, it's to get less shit.
Yeah.
Because there's no two ways about it. You will be dog shit on your first gig, but you have to be dog shit. And then hopefully, if you do loads and loads of practices and loads of gigs, maybe 6 months down the line, you might be really well rehearsed shit, but it's better than shit. You know, and it's those little refinements and kind of learning how to own your craft. And then suddenly, a couple of years down the line, you're actually all right.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't know how it happens. It's just like a kind of magic that kind of comes from being in the same room with the same people for so long, isn't it? We didn't play a single show last year.
Do you not? But when do you next? What's your kind of touring plans at the moment?
We've got look at a festival in Bradford in February. I think we got something up in Manchester in March or April. We're doing a tour in June to promote the new album. It's only about 12 dates, I think. And possibly a couple of festivals, although we're still waiting to hear back. I mean, to be honest, that's enough for us. We're quite happy, kind of, you know, not being too busy on the road, because we've all got kids and houses, jobs and stuff, you know.
Of course.
And we've yet to do a full tour with this band. I mean, that last year's tour was going to be the first one. Obviously, we've done tours in previous bands, but yeah, we've yet to do a single tour. So yeah, it'd be quite interesting.
I've never been on tour. I think that's something that would be fun for this year, because I've been in a few bands over the years, but so, you know, some of them made it to playing live stage, and then, you know, would sort of fold, as bands do, you know. But yeah,
eat well. Just make sure you eat well. Eat plenty of fruit and veg. Stay away from pasties and fast food, and because after about 3 or 4 days on the road, you just feel like utter shit. You just need some kind of vitamins in you, you know.
That's what's kind of hit me in the last couple of years. Like if I have kind of crap food 2 days in a row, I just feel horrible. I need my, you know, my bulk kind of pasta dish where it's just loaded full of vegetables and spinach, and have a couple of those and like back to it, you know, I'm back. But
yeah, exactly.
I can't do
you know, it's like you know, when you're just drinking beer and sleeping in a van and stuff, it's just it's a recipe for disaster.
Oh god.
So it'd be cool though. You'll enjoy it, man.
Yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to it.
Cool.
Right, I'll leave you to it. Dan, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers, dude.
To meet you, and yeah, catch you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I'll see you on the road, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely, man. All right, take it easy.
All right, mate.
See you, man.
See you in a bit.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.